In this strange time of isolation from family and friends, one of the things we might come to miss is to gather round a table for a meal together with those outside our household. At this time, there's often the yen to suddenly go out to a restaurant and get away from your kitchen for once. Some of the little things we miss. But when we think about it, meals taken together around the same table are a very important part of living as a family, of communicating and of relaxing together or listening to one another. They are valuable moments when we often get to the heart of things and meet the real person sitting opposite us. Occasionally, very important news is broken, at such times quietly and reflectively. It seems appropriate, then, that Jesus himself, when giving us something precious to remember him by, chose a simple meal with his closest friends, if you like, his de facto family. It was, of course, a ritual meal to commemorate the important religious festival of Passover. But it was held in an intimate and relaxed atmosphere. You remember, John was reclining against Jesus. Just 12 friends tucked away in an upper room. Here, away from noisy distractions and bustle, he spoke to them in solemn terms about his impending betrayal, his suffering and death. Not pleasant conversation, but disturbing and worrying news. You remember that the disciples whispered to John next to Jesus to ask him what he meant, who was to betray him. It was then, according to John's Gospel, that he gave them the command to love and demonstrated one way of what that meant by washing their feet. The other Gospel writers concentrate on the meal itself, that Last Supper. He took simple bread. He gave thanks and broke it and gave it them. And he told them to eat it as it was his body. He took the last of the cups of simple wine of the commemorative meal. He gave thanks, gave it to them, telling them to drink from it. This was to be his blood, which sealed a new covenant. This superseded the old covenant given through Moses, sealed with animal blood. This was the blood of a man, not just any man, but the Son of God. He commanded them to carry out this action as a memorial of himself. This was to be his legacy until he comes back again. This was to be his presence among us, made possible through the action of the Holy Spirit that his Father would send in his place. They were probably confused. Bread to be his body, wine to be his blood, what could it mean? But shortly afterwards, that all became clearer in that actual sacrifice of his body on the cross, in his blood dripping from those wounds made by the nails or poured out from his side. That sacrifice was made in the middle of the day when all went dark. That darkness, that shattering news for the disciples, was turned into light and unbelievable joy by the events of that first Easter day. So that sacrifice, that ignominious death, that outward defeat as seen in worldly terms, became a symbol of release from death, a triumph of good over evil. So we put up proudly, we carry at the head of our processions the sign of death made glorious and living, the cross, with the crucified on it. This is the contradiction of Christianity to the values of the world. The sign that love can conquer all, even through suffering and death. This is the enormity of what we celebrate at every Mass, even on live stream, even if it's recorded. This is the love which comes quietly to us. This is his presence today with us As Moses in the first reading, telling how God led the people in the desert, says, he humbled you. He made you feel hunger. He fed you with manna. So today, God still leads us through this strange pandemic desert. You feel the hunger for the sacrament of Jesus' body and blood today. But that new time of manna is approaching. We move a step closer with the opening of some of our churches for private prayer tomorrow or Monday, and carefully on into the coming weeks. Our blessed Lord's presence, always in the tabernacle, is still here and waiting to welcome you into his presence again. The presence we shall consume again when the time comes and become part of that presence. The same presence we will take out with us back to our homes, the streets, and our everyday life. But love is not just a passive, warm feeling. It is an active and powerful force. We are urged to spread that love, whether out in the streets or within our confinement, to put that received love to work in ourselves for the world. Well, it is mealtime again now, and we, his family, gathered virtually around this table here, with his presence enveloping us now and always.